Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Biden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's A-B-A-C-O. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
Now hear this. Man your battle stations.
The Obama attack on our Constitution continues. Log on to INRASuperPAC.com and join J.D. Bonnier and Christina Lamb and hundreds of Reagan conservative commandos who demand our country return to its founding documents and principles. We are part of the nation's oldest and largest GOP volunteer organization, the National Federation of Republican Assemblies. We register voters, endorse conservative candidates, and dig deep to give you the truth on the big issues. We are fighting to do what Lincoln proclaimed 150 years ago. Let the people know the facts and the nation will be free. Help support the Conservative Commando Radio Show with your donation today. Log on to INRASuperPAC.com. INRASuperPAC.com.
Now hear this. Man your battle stations.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the Internet. We're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360 and WIFI 1460. This is the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos Radio Show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos Radio Show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Speaking of Congressman Alan West, he will be a very special guest here Monday on the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Kevin Wade and J.D. Manier, our very special Memorial Day edition. Welcome, everybody, and welcome, fellow patriots. Welcome once again to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show. I am Rick Trader, coming to you live from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, the way we do Monday through Friday from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, and of course around the world on the internet via our internet broadcast partners, CPRWorldwideMedia.com, PatriotsRide.org, and VigilantLibertyRadio.us. And joining me today as my co-host, as she does on most Thursdays, is my very good friend from the battle-born state of Nevada, Sharon Engel. Sharon, welcome to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show.
Thanks so much, Rick. It's great to be here on this wonderful Thursday. I hope your weather is as good as ours. We're sunshiny, not a cloud in the sky.
Well, we had a few showers this morning, but it's clearing up now as we speak. A little bit on the humid side, but see, you guys have heat. We have humidity. So there you go.
And we all have climate change and global warming.
Well, no.
Wonderful things, right? That we're going to talk about some today.
Well, Sharon, it's not climate change. It's not global warming. The new mantra is climate crises. Climate crises. And I'll tell you, I get that from the authority, Sharon Engel. I get that from the authority of Al Roker and the Weather Channel. That's what they're calling it now. Climate crises. So forget global warming. Doesn't exist, never did exist. Forget climate change. Of course, climates have changed forever. As long as there's been an Earth floating out in space, there's always been climate change. But now, it's climate catastrophe. So there you go.
So there we go. Well, the catastrophe is beautiful in Nevada today, and as you say, it's getting beautiful in Philadelphia, just a little bit humid. But isn't that what we've expected day in and day out, year after year?
Sure.
Don't we usually get what we expect? Once in a while we get a little surprise and we wonder what's happening, but we know that it's just the way it goes naturally.
It sure does.
Don't have any catastrophes.
Nope. And speaking of surprises, Sharon, I got a surprise today in my email box. And that surprise is that my very good Sharon Engel is going to be on the road again. She's either in Washington or Indianapolis, but now the next stop is Wasilla, Alaska.
That's right. That's right. I'm going to be in Alaska for the Freedom Fair and Convention. We have a new unit, a new chapter in Alaska of the National Federation of Republican Assemblies called the Alaska Republican Assemblies, and they're putting on their first Freedom Fair and Convention. I'll be joined by Willis Lee from Hawaii, who is also a RNC Conservative Caucus board member, Sheriff Richard Mack from Arizona, and Reverend Rafael Cruz, who is an immigrant, but also is a statesman in his own right, if you will. He's the father of Senator Ted Cruz, but if you've ever heard Rafael Cruz speak, you'll know that he, as I said, is a man of great integrity and well worth listening to. It's really going to be a pleasure to share the podium with him.
Well, I know,
Jay. We're off to Alaska, North.
That's exciting. That's really exciting, Sharon. I seriously, I'm very excited for you. I know you'll love it. Alaska is truly a spectacular, beautiful place. You know, I was there in 1991, Sharon, and people would ask me, well, gee, what was Alaska like? Did you like Alaska? Well, prior to going to Alaska and planning the trip there, I had a lot of great expectations and anticipations of Alaska. Unfortunately, Sharon, a lot of times when you have these great expectations in your head, maybe you build them too high, they don't meet up. But Alaska far exceeded any expectation I had. It is the biggest, the harshest, the most beautiful, the most interesting place I think I've ever been.
My husband and I have had Alaska on our bucket list for years and years, and what an amazing opportunity this will be for us. So we've planned to spend a couple of weeks just taking in the scenery, understanding the culture, if you will, and really visiting with lots of different folks while we're there. So we're really excited and looking forward to it. I just got back from Redding, California, where I did a talk for a unit over there in Shasta County, the Shasta County RAs.
Another beautiful area.
We're busy at the National Federation of Republican Assemblies, beginning chapters in various states where we're not already going strong. And the reason is, of course, the 2014 elections and ultimately the 2016 elections. If you visit our website at republicanassemblies.org, you'll find statements there from none other than Ronald Reagan, claiming, and rightly so, that the Republican assemblies are the conscience of the Republican Party. You'll also see some talk about being rhino hunters. We're the only group that I know of that within the Republican Party endorses in primaries, and we do that so that you will have a good constitutional choice coming out of primaries. You don't have to hold your nose and choose the lesser of two evils. So that's our whole mission, is to make sure that we have good, strong constitutional candidates to vote for. And that's why we started our chapter in Alaska, because we think there's going to be a good, strong constitutional conservative running there for U.S. Senate. And we need, as you know, 6 Senate seats to make sure that Harry Reid does not return as the Senate Majority Leader after this election in 2014.
Sharon, has the National Federation of Republican Assemblies picked a candidate to support in that Alaskan race for the Senate?
We are a bottom-up organization, as the Constitution so rightly put it. We, the people, should be at the top of that chain, not at the bottom. And so we go to our chapters and we ask them, who's your favorite son? Who is the one that we should be supporting? Who's the constitutional candidate? Because they're the ones that would know.
Right.
And so we never endorse at the national level until our local chapters have endorsed, and then the state chapter is endorsed. So we work from the very grassroots right up to the national, and we're bound. If they choose a candidate in that U.S. Senate race, you'll hear me announce my endorsement for that same candidate right here on Conservative Commandos radio show. So I'm looking forward to being in Alaska on Saturday and hoping that they will throw those endorsements, and then I'll be able to talk about it.
All right. Sharon, I've got a few emails, or I wouldn't say emails, but people have posted up on Facebook how they're pushing the name of Sharon Engel to run for, not Sharon, I'm sorry, from my lips to God's ears. Sarah Palin to run for Senate in Alaska. And we have spoken to, I think, a man who's a very good man, that Joe Miller. He might be looked at as a candidate to run for Senate. So it's going to be very interesting to hear what comes out of that meeting of the Alaskan Republican Assemblies. And that's Saturday, May 24th, coming up, day after tomorrow.
That's right. And if we have listeners in Alaska, I would encourage them to join us there at that National Freedom Fair and Convention, because it is one of those things where we're coming in because we think Alaska's got something going for it. It has in the past, certainly. You mentioned two of their favorite people, I suppose, Sarah Palin and Joe Miller. And so we're looking forward to it. And we'd like anyone who's listening out there on the wide world of the Internet, web, to a Conservative Commandos radio show. And I hope they're listening in Alaska. And we're wanting them to come and join us at the Menard Sports Center in Wasilla from 10 to 3. And it's actually, the tickets are pretty well priced. It's $10 for an individual and $25 for your family.
Well, that is very well priced.
That's something that we want to price everybody out of. You'll get to hear some really good speakers, as I said. And for 10 to 3, I think lunch is included. I'm not sure, but I think lunch comes with that. And this is just a great opportunity to get in there and find out who Alaska is going to be supporting for their open Senate seat.
All right. And, of course, Sharon, you're going to be speaking with Senator Ted Cruz's father there, the Reverend Raphael Cruz. Sharon, you got to do a little bit of work there for the Conservative Commandos. We would like to have both of them on our show sometime. We've had Willis
Raphael about that, and I'm sure that he'll come on.
Well, we've had Willis Lee on the show. We've had Sheriff Richard Mack on the show. Obviously, you're a regular here on the Conservative Commandos radio show, a regular co-host, but it'd be great to have Cruz and Cruz, father and son, join us here.
I'll ask them if that's possible. I don't know. I know that they both have pretty tight schedules, but I
think they do it for you.
I'm fairly good personal friends with Reverend Cruz, and
all right.
And I think that if I asked him, he would.
All right, Sharon, we're going to go to a break right now. You're listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel and Rick Trader, coming to you live from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360 in Philly, the way we do, Monday through Friday from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, and, of course, around the world on the Internet. Today's show, like all our shows, is brought to you by the First Amendment, and it is protected by the Second. Don't go away. Sharon and I will be right back.
They say I'm nasty, but oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's ABACO. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811, PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittlesportshop.com.
You can call the The Conservative Commandos Radio Show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
And welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show. Program note, if you'd like to hear repeat broadcast of today's show at 10:10 this evening Eastern Time, please log on to patriotsride.org. That's patriotsride.org. And at 5 p.m., when Sharon and I end our live broadcast this afternoon, if you haven't gotten enough and you would like to hear a rebroadcast of yesterday's show, at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, log on to cprworldwidemedia.com, cprworldwidemedia.com. And tomorrow afternoon, if you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, place for that is at vigilantlibertyradio.us. And now you can listen to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show anytime, day or night, from your telephone by calling 832-999-1199. Now, if you call from a phone where you have unlimited access, there's no additional charges for this call. There's not even any extra advertising. So it's all good news. So, Sharon, we got a great show lined up for our listeners today. It's going to be very heavy on the military. Who are you going to be talking with, Sharon?
Well, our first interview at about 3:30 is with Dan Kish. He's the Senior Vice President for Policy at the Institute of Energy Research. And we're going to be talking about a fellow named Tom Steyer. Now, I'd never heard this man's name until it came across our desks here at Conservative Commandos Radio Show, Rick Trader. You stealth these things out. You find out what's going on. And this Tom Steyer is an interesting person. He's having a fundraiser with Vice President Joe Biden to raise what he pledges is $100 million for congressional candidates who back his energy tax agenda. Remember, we were talking about climate change in the very front of our program. Well, we don't disappoint our listeners. We're going to be talking about it again, but this time we're going to be talking about how that radical agenda is going to be pursued in these upcoming elections in 2014 and how they're throwing through this billionaire, Tom Steyer, $100 million at congressional candidates.
Well, Sharon, this guy, Tom Steyer, has an ulterior motive for opposing the Keystone Pipeline. We've talked about it before here on the Conservative Commandos Radio Show, and when we get Dan Kish on, we'll talk about it again. But you know, Sharon, how they say, follow the money trail? Well, this guy, Tom Steyer, certainly has a motive by opposing the Keystone XL pipeline.
He certainly does, and we won't want to miss that coming right up, really, in just a few minutes.
Right.
And then at the 4 o'clock hour, we're going to have Tyler McNally, who is the MCR TV correspondent. He's going to be talking about, as you said, the military, but this time we're going to be talking about the GAO having cited the VA for unnecessary deaths and incompetence for more than 20 years. Now we're going to really talk about those so-called death panels. We all know that it's not just a death panel. It is really an agenda of caretakers and of these facilities. They have in mind that there's only a certain length of time that people should survive, because after that they do not economically work out, if you will. They're actuarially a liability rather than being something that is productive. And so it's better to just ease them on out. And we're looking at what has truly become a scandal when it comes to our veterans and our military.
Indeed it is. And not to rub salt into Barack Obama's wound, Sharon Engel, but we got to get the word out on this man's ineptness. Our guest at 4:35 is a returning guest here on the Conservative Commandos Radio Show, one of my very favorite guests, and that is Charlotte Hayes from the Independent Women's Forum. And whenever there's something in the news, I know that Charlotte has an opinion, and she's going to be talking. She's going to be joining us to talk about one of her most recent blogs, Obama Presser. You know that the VA mess is really George Bush's fault, don't you? So we're going to get into that with our good friend Charlie Hayes from the Independent Women's Forum. So.
Good for Charlotte. It's always good to get the woman's point of view, even if there is a war on conservative women. We know that conservative women, just like Charlotte Hayes, are going to stand up against this war and fight and fight and fight some more.
All right. Sharon Engel, you know I received the newsletter from the National Federation of Republican Assemblies, and there's always great information passed on from your organization. And one of the articles caught my eye today. It's Obama undermining our nation's military, and of course it's apropos considering that this weekend is the Memorial Day weekend. And it talks here about large threats looming as China's massive surge in the military capability in the Pacific over the last 10 years, and their threatening posture towards the Philippines, Vietnam, Japan, and South Korea. Warlike actions are being taken by the Chinese communists in and around the Pacific, unbeknownst to many people that are in the United States and who live on the border of China, and that's all of us. In light of real events, what has Obama and the Democrats in Washington done to make sure our service members have more than enough of the best training, facilities, and service culture to meet today's threats? Strengthen our military by increasing our capabilities through the acquisition of new systems to keep pace with the threat. Make sure we have the manpower necessary to meet these increasing threats. The answer to each of these questions is nothing. But it gets worse than that. For the last 6 years, our military has been cut to the bone. Obama and the Democrats enthusiastically pursued a budget policy known as sequestration. Keep in mind, that was Barack Obama's idea. He pushed for it. He signed that into law. Sequestration, which made across-the-board cuts in defense with small cuts for other parts of the federal budget. Our military has lost training exercises, flying hours, required maintenance, facilities, important organizations, personnel, and most of all, we are losing money to acquire new equipment needed for our service members. Our enemies are getting stronger while America is getting weaker. And Sharon, I think this also can help to point out the mess that we were in the Ukraine. Vladimir Putin is doing whatever he wants over in Eastern Europe once again because he knows what a lightweight he's up against in Barack Obama.
That's right. That's right. We know that he has sensed the weakness. But it was interesting. We had a guest on a week, I think it was just last week, talking about this. J.D. Gordon was with us last week talking just about Putin and why Putin has come to the forefront and who he's defending. And it's very interesting that Putin has taken the side of Christians while our own president has actually been on the side of radical Muslims in these countries. And so it's an interesting flip here. We see Putin coming on strong for the Christians, and yet he seems to be also in an empire-building mode. So it was an interesting interview, and I know that if people are interested in listening to that interview again with J.D. Gordon, just about what Putin is up to, and the weakness that he sees in Barack Obama, they can do that, can't they, Rick?
Yes, they can. All our shows are up on podcast. You know, check us out, Conservative Commandos Radio Show on Spreaker. That's Spreaker.com. Hey, Sharon, we're going to a break. I know time flies when you're having fun. Time always flies on Thursday afternoon. And you're listening to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Sharon Engel and Rick Trader, coming to you live from the CCRS studios. That of WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philly, the way we do from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, and around the world on the Internet via our Internet broadcast partners, CPRWorldwideMedia.com, PatriotsRide.org, VigilantLibertyRadio.us, and don't forget to check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioshow.com.
To be the leader in production systems technology, to be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology, it takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811, PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's ABACO. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittlesportshop.com.
The Obama attack on our Constitution continues. Log on to INRASuperPAC.com and join J.D. Manier and Christina Lamb and hundreds of Reagan conservative commandos who demand our country return to its founding documents and principles. We are part of the nation's oldest and largest GOP volunteer organization, the National Federation of Republican Assemblies. We register voters, endorse conservative candidates, and dig deep to give you the truth on the big issues. We are fighting to do what Lincoln proclaimed 150 years ago. Let the people know the facts and the nation will be free. Help support the Conservative Commando Radio Show with your donation today. Log on to INRASuperPAC.com. INRASuperPAC.com.
Now hear this. Man your battle stations.
You can call the Conservative Commandos Radio Show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
And as a program note, Colonel Alan West, Congressman Alan West, will be a special Memorial Day guest with Kevin Wade and J.D. Manier Monday here on the Conservative Commandos Radio Show. And we are honored that Congressman Alan West has made a point to spend a part of his Memorial Day with us and with our listeners. And Sharon Engel, we do have our next guest with us, and the honor of that introduction is yours, so please take it away.
It's my pleasure to introduce Dan Kish, a Senior Vice President for Policy at the Institute for Energy Research. Dan has more than 25 years of experience on congressional committees focused upon natural resource and energy policies. His service includes the principal resource committees in the House and the Senate, including 6 years as the Chief of Staff for the Republicans on the House Resources Committee and 4 years on the Senate Energy and Natural Resources Committee. Dan, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Well, thanks, Sharon. Thank you very much.
Dan, it's recently been reported that a billionaire environmental activist, Tom Steyer, is set to host a high-dollar political fundraiser for Vice President Joe Biden. He's pledging upwards of $100 million for congressional candidates who back his radical energy tax agenda and is in opposition to the Keystone Pipeline and fracking. Steyer's limitless checkbook has made him a political kingmaker. So now, as an expert on Steyer's agenda, let's talk about this Steyer. Who is Tom Steyer?
Yes, well, actually, and his name is actually pronounced Steyer. It looks like Steyer, but he pronounces it differently. And who he is a billionaire hedge fund magnate from California. Went to all the best schools. Grew up. Went to Exeter Academy, Yale, all the rest, and then went off to make his fortune. And he founded a company called Farallon Capital. And what they did is they invested in various businesses, and as hedge funds do. But the interesting thing, Sharon, the amazing thing about this, and it's going to remind you a lot of Al Gore at this point, is as it turns out. Stories have recently surfaced that this fellow who doesn't want us to build the Keystone, doesn't want us to use domestic coal here in the United States, doesn't want us drilling for oil or hydraulically fracturing for natural gas or oil, made all of his money by doing those very things in other countries. For example, his company was leading the quest to invest in coal mines and buy coal mines and operations in Indonesia, which is now the largest exporter of coal in the world. And in addition to that, his company was heavily involved in funding pipelines, including pipelines, which are alternatives to the Keystone XL pipeline, which instead of coming down into the United States would actually go west to the Canadian coast, where the oil would be shipped out on tankers on its way to China. So as it turns out, he made his money investing in the very things he says that we've got to stop here in the United States. And now he says that, well, he divested himself 2 years ago of all that money, but I don't know. Does this sound familiar?
It does to me. You know, it's just like Al Gore and his flying around in his big jet and then telling us all that we can't have our car, our SUV. It's amazing, right. Isn't it?
Or selling his, making $100 million selling his TV company to the
Al Jazeera.
Al Jazeera, yeah, exactly, which is funded with oil money in the Middle East. So, you know, I don't know. This seems to be a national pastime lately. Let's all get rich on the things that we, and then we'll get famous and maybe go into politics by announcing that we're doing this. But he's clearly, I mean, he's very, very close to the president. He's very, very close to, as you mentioned, Vice President Biden's going to be at one of his many fundraising events that he puts on, and he's committed in this election cycle. He's committed to do $100 million, $50 million of his own, and he may add more, and then get some friends to pitch in another $100 million to try to keep the Senate in Democratic hands, so Harry Reid continues to be the majority leader and can stop any of the bills that are coming over from the House. And and that's what he's been announcing of late. So he's very active politically, and he's going to spend a lot of that money trying to make sure that President Obama can continue his activities and unthwarted by anything in the Senate.
Well, but what you're telling us is that Spire has a vested interest in making sure that we don't do anything that competes with his company. So it really isn't a green energy ideology that he's after. This is pure capitalism. This is how do I use government in a wrong way. This is capital cronyism, if you will. How do I use government to impact my competition so that I get a better advantage in my own business? This is what we've all been decrying for years, this capital cronyism that goes on in Washington, D.C. all the time. And yet this fellow now is trying to tell us that he's a very environmentally friendly fellow. So isn't there a law against this, Dan Kish?
Well, no, there isn't. There should be a media that looks into this, and I give the. It wouldn't surprise you that the media story that finally broke last week about his company's investments in these carbon fuels. I have no problem with carbon fuels. It's why the United States got to be the number one economy in the world by using a lot of energy and amplifying, the strength of our people. But he apparently does have a problem, but when he's making money off of it, he doesn't have a problem. And if it happens to be in Indonesia, it didn't seem to bother him, or Australia, or the Far East. But when it comes to investments here in North America, whether it's a Keystone Pipeline or whether it's a project to develop coal in the United States or something like that, those are all things that he's going to donate money to opponents of here in the United States and try to keep the Senate in the hands of those people who are opposed to those things, which help us keep our energy prices down and help make our industries competitive. So I don't think there's any law against a fellow. I don't think there's any law against hypocrisy. We'd have to lock up most of Washington, D.C.
Well, and you've called it right. It is the height of hypocrisy, I suppose. If he were the owner of the Keystone Pipeline, I'm sure he would be promoting that to the detriment of any other competitors. But he's got a real agenda here. It looks like he's targeting some races. Do you happen to know exactly what he's targeting here? Because when I read up on it, he has 7 races that he's targeting.
Yes, he just announced. This morning, I believe, or yesterday, that he'll be involved in 7 states around the country, and that what he wants to do is, well, his basic thrust is he wants to keep people in control in Washington who will make sure that none of the things that the House of Representatives has been trying to do to try to stop some of the anti-energy things will go forward. And so he's involved. He wants to get involved in Senate races in Montana. I believe it's Pennsylvania.
Well, we're gonna go and name those states when we come back from this break. Can you stay on with us through the break, Dan Kish?
Absolutely.
We are talking with Dan Kish. He's the Senior Vice President for Policy at the Institute for Energy Research. We're talking about a man named Tom Spire who's willing to put $100 million into congressional races to make sure that his political agenda is furthered. You won't want to miss it when we come back right after this break.
And you are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel and Rick Trader, coming to you live from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360 in Philly, the way we do Monday through Friday from 3 to 5 p.m. and around the world on the internet. Please don't go away. Sharon and I will be back with more with our guest, Dan Kish.
They say I'm messy, but I... Oh, how I'm longing for
last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's A-B-A-C-O. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
Hi, this is Bob Viden, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
And you're listening to Conservative Commandos Radio Show here with Sharon Angle and Rick Trader. We've been talking with our guest, Dan Kish. He's the Senior Vice President for Policy at the Institute for Energy Research. And we've been talking about billionaire environmental activist Tom Steyer, who has pledged $100 million for congressional candidates who back his radical energy tax agenda. And we were just before the break talking about which states he's targeted. Now it's 4 senatorial races, it looks like, and a few gubernatorial races. It looks like Colorado, Michigan, New Hampshire, and Iowa Senate races, and Florida, Maine, and Pennsylvania gubernatorial races. Now, why do you think, Dan, that he would do Colorado, Michigan, New Hampshire, and Iowa? You mentioned Montana, but it isn't on his list, and I wonder why. And I wonder why Louisiana isn't on his list as well.
Yeah, that's exactly right, and I think I mentioned Arkansas too as a potential because that's a close race. But I think what he thinks, basically, this is just raw politics. The senators from those states have not been so outspoken against projects that would develop more energy supplies and make energy prices cheaper. So he's not getting involved in those races, he says, but we shall see. And if he does, I'm sure the thumb will be on the scale of, I mean, let's face it, he's pushing for a Democratic Senate led by Harry Reid. And because that's the key that is so important this fall, and they know that. So basically what he's doing is pushing for Senator Udall in Colorado is in some trouble for cozying up to folks like this, and so he's going to weigh in on there and try to get folks. Pennsylvania, for example, is the home of the Marcellus Shale, which has been the most incredible boon in natural gas supplies that we've potentially had, and so if he gets a friend in there in the governor's house, he may be able to stop more natural gas from being produced there. He's active in the Maine gubernatorial race because the governor of Maine has been outspoken about his questioning whether everything you hear from Washington on global warming is actually true. I think they just went through a pretty rough winter. And, of course, Charlie Crist, who keeps switching parties on us down in Florida, is the person. He's used to be a Republican, lost to Marco Rubio, then switched parties now has switched to become a Democrat and is running in for governor of Florida, and he wants to spend money down there telling folks that Florida is going to flood if Charlie Crist doesn't get elected. So this is what's going on. He's got a lot of money. He's going to get down and dirty. He's already done that in some races. He actually opposed a working class union member Democrat in a race for the Democratic Senate up in Massachusetts in favor of Ed Markey, who's a huge global warming fetishist from Massachusetts. And it looks like this is a guy who was born with a silver spoon in his mouth, doesn't much like the working men and women of this country that built this country, and doesn't really care how much they pay for energy, and so he's weighing in on all these races, but he's going to make it look like something different, and that's a typical campaign, as you well know.
It certainly is, but we're not going to be looking for paid for by Tom Steyer. We're going to be looking for paid for by Next Gen, NEXTGEN, and that's his PAC that he's going to be putting out these $100 million advertisements and also contributions to these candidates. So we need to be a little bit savvy that we're not going to be finding this man's name plastered all everything. It's going to be his PAC or his organization, this Next Gen, that has actually been targeting millennials, Hispanics, African Americans, single women, and mothers. What do you think about that? Why would he target those specific demographics?
Well, he's trying to get people to turn out that are the base that elected President Obama, re-elected President Obama. It's the same, and basically it's going to be a scare campaign telling people that, oh, the world's coming to an end and these people don't care about your future and all the rest, when in reality, these are some of what's most amazing about the Sharon, these are the people who get hurt worse the most. If energy prices go up, I mean, in many cases, these are the people who are having a hard time getting by and making life, and they're working hard. And the idea that you would make it harder to produce jobs in the United States after making your money, making energy easier to get in foreign countries is kind of bizarre. But of course, you won't see any of that. And so it's an attempt to scare people into going to the polls and pulling the lever for his favored candidates who will vote the way he wants them to, and that's why he's spending $100 million of his money and is committed to spend more if that's what it takes.
We're speaking with Dan Kish here on the Conservative Commandos radio show. Dan is the Senior Vice President for Policy at the Institute for Energy Research. Dan, always great to have you on the show here with us.
Thanks, Rick.
Dan, this past Tuesday, they had the primary election in Pennsylvania. There were 4 Democrats running for the Republican nomination. Each and every one of them said, we're going to tax the oil, gas, and fracking companies. The guy who won that primary is a guy by the name of Tom Wolf, who spent millions of his own dollars to win the nomination. As you say, this guy Steyer or Stair, maybe he doesn't want his name pronounced because he doesn't want people to know who he is. But as you said, he is going to be supporting this guy, Tom Wolf. Tom Wolf, as I said, spent a bunch of money running ads. And one of his ads, he was there with a classroom of little kiddies. And he said to these little kids, I have the solution to fund the schools. It's right under our feet. That we are going to tax those big, bad oil, gas, and fracking companies. We're going to put a tax on them. Hey, Dan, how much of that tax do you think, or can you tell our listeners, how much of that tax are the gas and oil companies going to pay, and how much is it going to be passed on to the consumer?
They're going to pass all of it on to the consumer, or if the taxes get too high, they're going to move out of Pennsylvania and go to someplace that'll have them. I mean, that's what people do. Companies don't pay taxes. It simply is a way for politicians to hide. They say they're taxing companies or corporations or you name it, but what they're really doing is saying in addition to the taxes we take out of your paycheck, citizens, we're going to make the products that you buy cost more by taxing these companies, who will then pass on those taxes to you, because that's the way the system works. It's the oldest trick in the book, but ultimately there's two ways you pay those taxes. They get paid by the consumer, or they get paid by loss of jobs in the state in which they're generated, and all you have to do is look around, and you know, there's a reason people are moving to Texas, and it's because they don't have any income tax.
You know, Dan, I am not a big fan of Tom Corbett, the present Republican governor in Pennsylvania. There's a lot of things that he has done that I thought stink, okay? But the one thing that you can't argue with, Dan, is how the economy in Pennsylvania and how family farms has been helped because of gas exploration and fracking in Pennsylvania. Could you talk a little bit about that, Dan? You know more about it than I do.
Yeah, well, Rick, what's happened is that in amazing swaths of rural Pennsylvania that have been dying for decades, where the children had to move away from their parents, and you know, generations were ceasing to exist because their kids left. You know, grandparents didn't get to see their grandchildren that often. That has changed now because there are job opportunities and there are revenues being generated from those private land held by people. People can actually pay their real estate taxes and put up a new outbuilding, or buy a tractor, or put up new fencing, or whatever it is they need as a consequence of that. And so it's reinvigorating the whole rural part of Pennsylvania. And it's, if it weren't for the natural gas from the Marcellus in Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania's economy would be in the tank. And all of the growth in Pennsylvania, even though some of it's come in banking and real estate and other things, those things all benefit from that new revenue flowing into Pennsylvania as a consequence of attracting that business there. And of course, whenever you've got a golden goose, when politicians squeeze it too hard, it kills the golden goose that lays those golden eggs.
Hey, Dan, I have a great idea for Tom Wolfe, who loves taxes so much. You know, he claims he made his money in the kitchen cabinet manufacturing business. How about this? How about this, Dan? Maybe we should pass this idea on to good old Tom Wolfe. Let's put a 25% tax on every kitchen cabinet made in the state of Pennsylvania. You like that one, Dan? You think that's a good idea?
Well, I don't think that's a good idea either, Rick, because...
Well, Tom Wolfe likes taxes so much.
Right.
Let's tax his business. Let's see, by taxing his business, how many of his customers start buying kitchen cabinets from a different state.
Well, and that is exactly the point. What would happen is if Pennsylvania decided that, oh, well, we'll just tax kitchen cabinet manufacturers because they make a nice profit. They make so much they can run for office. If you did that, people in Pennsylvania and other parts of the country wouldn't be buying cabinets from Pennsylvania because they'd have that 25% tax. And it's amazing what you are pointing out is the exact same thing that happens with energy. And you would think that somebody that came from the business world would understand that. My guess is he probably does.
Hey, Dan, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we're up against the clock. We got to go. Hey, give out your websites.
EnergyTownHall.org.
You know, Dan, I always love to talk with you. I really do.
It's always my pleasure to talk with both of you. And thanks. God bless. Have a great Memorial Day weekend.
All right. Dan Kiss, Senior Vice President for Policy at the Institute for Energy Research. Dan, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a break. You're listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel and Rick Trader, coming to you live from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360 in Philadelphia, as we do Monday through Friday from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time and around the world on the Internet. Hey, please don't go away. On the other side, we're going to be speaking with Tyler McAnally.
They say I'm nasty.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811, PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's ABACO. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
Hi, this is Bob Viden, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittlesportshop.com.
The Obama attack on our Constitution continues. Log on to INRASuperPAC.com and join J.D. Manier and Christina Lamb and hundreds of Reagan conservative commandos who demand our country return to its founding documents and principles. We are part of the nation's oldest and largest GOP volunteer organization, the National Federation of Republican Assemblies. We register voters, endorse conservative candidates, and dig deep to give you the truth on the big issues. We are fighting to do what Lincoln proclaimed 150 years ago. Let the people know the facts and the nation will be free. Help support the Conservative Commando Radio Show with your donation today. Log on to INRASuperPAC.com. INRASuperPAC.com.
Now hear this. Man your battle stations.
You can call the Conservative Commandos Radio Show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
And welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Sharon Engel and Rick Trader. Yours truly. We're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and of course around the world on the internet via our internet broadcast partners, CPRWorldwideMedia.com, patriotsride.org, vigilantlibertyradio.us, and don't forget you can now hear our show anytime, day or night, by calling 832-999-1199. Now, if you call using your cell phone or any other phone that you have unlimited access to, there's no extra charge for this call. No extra advertising. It's just a great service that we provide our listeners here on the Conservative Commandos radio show. So Sharon Engel, bringing you back in. We're waiting to hear from our next guest, Tyler McAnally from MRC TV. So in the meantime, Sharon, anything else on your radar screen?
Well, of course, Alaska's on my radar screen, as you know, and Memorial Day and our veterans. It's a wonderful celebration that we have in this country, and I hope everyone's planning to do something very patriotic, especially to show how truly grateful we are for the sacrifice that patriots have made over the years that we've been a country to keep us free.
Mm-hmm.
Just an amazing, amazing thing. I know my dad served in World War II and also in the Korean conflict. We are not allowed to call that a war, of course, since it wasn't really declared. But anyway, he served in both of those wars. And I'm kind of looking forward to Alaska for that reason, because my father served in the Battle of the Commandos Islands, which is the extension of the Aleutian Islands on the Russian side, and was out there patrolling in his destroyer with a couple of light cruisers, and the Japanese came upon them and chased them.
Yeah, Sharon, a lot of people don't know that the Japanese invaded the Aleutian Islands. You know?
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
Yes, they did. And he was there for those battles in that cold water. I asked him one time, "Weren't you afraid, Dad?" And he said, "Honey, I was 19 years old. I wasn't smart enough nor old enough to realize I should be afraid."
Well, when you're 19, you also think you're invincible. Hey, Sharon, we do have our next guest with us. Will you please make the introduction?
Yes, Tyler McNally is an MRC TV correspondent, and he's here to talk to us about his recent blog. Tyler, welcome to Conservative Commandos radio show.
Thank you for having me.
Now, Tyler, you wrote a blog. GAO has cited the VA for unnecessary deaths, incompetence for more than 20 years. Tell us about that blog. First of all, let's talk about what the GAO is and why that would be important to us to know that they have been investigating, if you will, the Veterans Administration.
Yeah, well, the GAO is a government accountability office. It's the Congress's branch of investigating mostly the executive branch, their way of checking that. And so, essentially, the GAO will investigate pretty much every branch of the executive. So it's not like they have something going out for the VA. They do it constantly, just their way of checking up on the executive branch. But as the article mentions, 20 years or so since the VA became a cabinet department, if you want to say that, they have found incompetence. They have found unnecessary booking issues with that wait time.
And it was President Bush that made them a part of the cabinet. Before they were just a department. And he said, I believe he said, there's only one place for veterans of America, in the cabinet room at the table with the President of the United States, which I agree with. I think that our veterans should have a place at the table with the President. So he was the one that put the Veterans Administration into the cabinet, if you will. And now he's going to take some of the blame, isn't he? Or at least somebody's going to try to blame him for this.
This is Bush 1, so this was in 1989, I believe, when it officially became a cabinet spot. So I don't think they're gonna go that far to blame him, but they're gonna blame the past, of course. But that's not to say that this hasn't been going on for years. And so I think that's the one thing that I think needs to be put forth is this isn't a new issue, so we shouldn't really be surprised with how the VA.
Well, and I guess the reason I was thinking that is because this present administration likes to blame Bush, too, for everything. So I thought they would at least garner back to that some way and drag him into this process. But what is it that the GAO is holding against the Veterans Administration? Why are they saying that they've been incompetent and there are unnecessary deaths?
Yeah, well, these reports are available on the web. You just have to do some searches and try to figure out how to find this, just to search engines on the GAO.gov website. But, for example, in 1991, I should say, the VA had no structural way to manage the three branches of their operations. They have the Veterans Health Administration, the Veterans Benefits Administration, and the National Cemetery System. They didn't have any way to connect all those three operations to figure out how they were handling their money well and how they were budgeting things. And so there was a partial investigation just detailing how that process went, how they could change it. But so there have been past instances where the GAO has said that the VA has screwed up, and so again, it's not the first time, so it shouldn't surprise. But this latest is really probably the most damaging to them, because they're now saying that there's unnecessary deaths, and perhaps the VA is a part of what we're calling the Obamacare death panels. How did that come about? What was the thing that triggered that? Yeah, well, the VA hasn't. It's not. This isn't the first time with this wait list and how people have died waiting for care. In '92, the GAO also investigated a couple psychiatric hospitals where there was bad care, where there were substandard conditions. Some doctors, some nurses, I should say, were investigated for murder, but they were later acquitted of that. But I wouldn't go as far to say that this is death panel procedures, as people like to say under Obamacare. I do think this is a good example of government-run healthcare, but this isn't something planned from this administration. I think it's just a lack of structure within the VA and the VA's mission, from administration to administration, and just a lack of understanding what should happen in government-run healthcare. Well, and you cited a report in 2001 where they had 18 out of 54 visited clinics pass the 30-day standard. Meanwhile, 15 out of 17 primary clinics met the standard. So talk to us a little bit about these standards and what that means to us as, well, if, like my father, he's a veteran. What does that mean to him? Yeah, well, the process usually is, if someone is not under life-threatening conditions, they will go in and they will basically, this is a wait. So the current standard is 14 days. So if you don't, you're supposed to see a doctor within 14 days of when you go in and you sign up for the VA. Back in 1998, they set a 30-day standard. And by 2001, when the GAO put out their sources and their information, they hadn't met that by 2001. So from 1998, they set a 30-day and they missed it. And now when it's 14, they still can't even make the 14-day wait list window. So it's either they have that information, which they aren't sharing information within each other's hospitals very well. It's usually run in a regional sense, so there isn't much sharing with information to the top. It's a systemic issue where they don't cooperate with each other. Each hospital runs like their own area, and that's pretty much all they care about is their own area. So that issue is not going to change unless there is a culture change within the VA.
So what we're looking at is longer and longer waits, is what you're saying, and yet these veterans, well, my father is 92. He doesn't, it gets down to maybe you don't have the time to sit around and wait for just to visit or just to get care. We're got to go to a break. Can you stay with us through the break, Tyler?
Yeah. Of course.
We're speaking with Tyler McNally. He's the MRC TV correspondent. We've been talking to him about the GAO citing the VA for unnecessary deaths. And we'll be right back here on Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Rick Trader, Sharon Angle, and our guest, Tyler McNally, in just a minute.
And you are listening to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show, coming to you from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, the way we do Monday through Friday from 3 to 5 p.m. and around the world on the internet. Please don't go away. We'll be right back with more with our guest.
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's ABACO. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the Sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittlesportshop.com.
You can call the Conservative Commandos Radio Show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show, and if you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show at 10:10 this evening Eastern Time, please log on to patriotsride.org. That's patriotsride.org. And at 5 p.m., when we end our live broadcast, if you haven't got enough and would like to hear a rebroadcast of yesterday's show at 5 p.m. this evening Eastern Time, please log on to CPRWorldwideMedia.com. And our guest this segment here on the Conservative Commandos Radio Show is Tyler McNally. He's a correspondent with the Media Research Center, TV. And Tyler, thanks for holding through that break. We appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Tyler, could you give me an idea of, maybe you can't answer this, how many veterans are served by the VA?
I believe last I checked, it's over 100, I believe 50,000. It is the largest.
150,000. 150,000. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe so.
So here we have a government. Here we have an administration. Here we have an agency of the federal government that has, let's say, 200,000 patients that they take care of. They can't take care of those 200,000 patients. But, oh, yeah, they're going to take care of 315 million Americans through Obamacare. Tyler, do you see something wrong with this?
Well, definitely. I do think that the VA has proven that government-run healthcare is dangerous, and it may help some, but for the majority of people, it's not going to be very cost-effective for them to have to wait for months and months at a time for a simple checkup. So I do think it's dangerous. But then again, it won't hurt everybody, but it will hurt the majority.
Well, people are going to hurt, Tyler. You know, this idea that we have a safety net and it's going to catch everybody and everybody was going to be saved by the safety net, in my opinion, that's absolutely ridiculous. Okay? We've heard these complaints coming out of the VA for years and years and years. But Tyler, one of the things that I found very interesting in your article, you write here, the GAO found, quote, clinics that did not use the electronic waiting list to track new patients in need of medical appointments as required by the VHA policy, putting these patients at risk for not receiving timely care. To me, Tyler, that is shocking. I would think by now just about every medical agency or administration would have electronic records. And what do they write these? Tyler, help me out here. If they're not using electronic records, what do they got? A great big blackboard they write these things on?
I'm not quite sure what their current system is, but I do believe that when you do have a health system with 150,000 people in it minimum, you do need some sort of electronic system.
I would think so.
Whether it's great or not is a different question. But when you do have that many people in the system, it seems pretty indicative that for it to run smoothly, you do need something like that. And the fact that some hospitals aren't using this technology, which is very helpful for certain vets who are traveling, who do need to see a VA hospital, and they can't get the correct coverage or the correct care that they need because they don't have the information. That's dangerous.
I think it is. You know, Tyler, another amazing thing that I found out yesterday was there was an article, I believe it was in the Washington Times, how the Obama administration was warned, their transition team was warned in 2008 about potential problems in the Veterans Administration. That was in 2008. But just the other day, according to Jay Carney, Barack Obama found out about this from a news broadcast from a Phoenix, Arizona television station. I find that amazing.
I do find that shocking. To say that he did find out in 2008, according to the report. But this isn't some problem that just popped up in 2008. This has been a problem going on for a long time. We've had three previous presidents with Bush 1, Clinton, and Bush 2, and the problem did not get fixed. So I'm not sure. I don't believe it'll get fixed now. I don't know if it'll ever get fixed. But I don't think it's smart to place the sole blame for this entire thing on this administration. They do have a part to play in it.
Well, you know, Tyler, somewhere the buck's got to stop on somebody's desk, okay? And I agree with you. I don't believe that all the blame can be placed on this administration. I think that there's a lot of dirty hands in this. But somewhere, at some point, somebody's got to take responsibility and stop pointing the fingers at other guys and saying, look over there. He's got his hands in the cookie jar.
I agree.
Sharon, with that, I'll go back to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tyler, for being with us here on Conservative Commandos radio show and talking about your blog that has to do with the VA and unnecessary deaths. Now, when the GAO cited the VA with these unnecessary deaths, it really isn't accusing them of murder, but that kind of is the way it sounds. Could you clear that up a little bit, why this isn't murder, why unnecessary death is not murder or at least negligence?
Yeah, well, there are some certain standards that the VA has to pass she says the hospital in general. All VA hospitals pass this set hospital standard that all private and public hospitals have. And so they're all set to standards. And so they do follow procedures when it comes to falls, suicide, I believe death within 24 hours of admittance, and possible harm being done at the hospital. And so the VA isn't alone in this. Private and public hospitals do have problems with their system. So,
but Tyler, I'm sorry to interrupt. See, the difference here is that if this happened in a private hospital or a private institution, there would be lawyers lining up to take these cases to run these hospitals, doctors, administrators into court. That's the difference.
Correct. And the problem is that there is too much red tape going on in the VA right now to have these court cases brought up. And for some of these things, some of the early 1990s ones, you're going to have a tough time in court trying to battle that. But as the red tape will hurt the cases for the recent going right now.
But, it's interesting to me. I've talked to several veterans, and they understand that there's a problem in the Veterans Administration, but they're so loyal to their local VA. It isn't happening here, but I've heard it's happening everywhere else, but we've got the greatest one going on. So is it not widespread across the VA, or are we naive to think it's not happening in our VA, or is it just specifically to some VAs and not to others? What have you found, Tyler?
I can't specifically say which is the correct answer because I personally haven't dealt with multiple VAs, so I'm not at liberty to discuss these different cases. But we do know that Phoenix has mishandled their situation, so has Albuquerque, so has some of these other hospitals. So I'm not at liberty to discuss whether or not these different hospitals, all the hospitals in general.
Hey, Sharon, if I could jump in again. I have a neighbor who is a veteran who receives his medical care from the VA, and he just happens to live in an area where he could go to Philadelphia, he could go to New Jersey, he could go to Delaware, and he's told me the medical care in Philadelphia is great, the medical care in Wilmington, Delaware is great, but stay away from the VA medical care in New Jersey. So it depends. It depends, Sharon, and where you go for your care if you're a veteran. And once again, Tyler and Sharon, you've got to be, and when I say you've got to be, I mean the veterans have got to be their own best advocates. I think that's key.
It's difficult, as you know, my father is 92. It's hard for him to be his own advocate, so we have to advocate for him.
Well, there you go. You're his advocate. The family, his family, you and your brother are his advocates. And you need that, or else you really fall between the cracks.
That's right. Someone has to do that. Tyler, we're so glad that you were able to come on and be our guest. Can you tell our audience where we can follow you and read more about the VA and the things that you're doing with the MRC TV?
Yeah, definitely. You can read more of my writing and more of my colleagues' writing at cnsnews.com/MRCTV-blog. We post articles all day, some fun, some political stuff like this article, and so it's pretty much a mix of it.
Well, Tyler, I always say that cnsnews.com is our source for news. It should be everybody. So thanks for joining us.
There you go.
All right.
And then you can reach me on Twitter at Tyler_McNally. That's the easiest way to reach me.
All right, I'll follow you. You follow me.
Perfect.
All right, thanks for joining us. Hey, Sharon, we're going to take a break right now. You are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel and Rick Trader, coming to you live from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia. The way we do Monday through Friday from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern, and around the world on the internet via our internet broadcast partners, CPRWorldwideMedia.com, PatriotsRide.org, and VigilantLibertyRadio.us.
To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology, it takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811, PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's ABACO. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
Hi, this is Bob Viden, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittlesportshop.com.
The Obama attack on our Constitution continues. Log on to INRASuperPAC.com and join J.D. Benier and Christina Lamb and hundreds of Reagan conservative commandos who demand our country return to its founding documents and principles. We are part of the nation's oldest and largest GOP volunteer organization, the National Federation of Republican Assemblies. We register voters, endorse conservative candidates, and dig deep to give you the truth on the big issues. We are fighting to do what Lincoln proclaimed 150 years ago. Let the people know the facts and the nation will be free. Help support the Conservative Commando Radio Show with your donation today. Log on to INRASuperPAC.com. INRASuperPAC.com.
Now hear this. Man your battle stations.
You can call the Conservative Commandos Radio Show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
And welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Sharon Engel and Rick Trader, coming to you from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia. The way we do Monday through Friday from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern. And if you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show at 10:10 this evening Eastern Time, please log on to patriotsride.org. That's patriotsride.org. And at 5 p.m. when we end our live broadcast, if you'd like to hear a replay of yesterday's show, log on to CPRWorldwideMedia.com, CPRWorldwideMedia.com. And you can also hear a rebroadcast of today's show tomorrow afternoon at VigilantLibertyRadio.us. Now, the exciting news is, if you don't get enough of us, you can always use your telephone to listen to our show anytime, day or night, by calling 832-999-1199. There's no extra charges for this call. So use your phone that you have unlimited minutes. And with that, we do have our next guest with us, one of my favorite guests, Charlotte Hayes. She's the Director of Cultural Programs at the Independent Women's Forum. Charlotte has appeared everywhere you can imagine, including on Politically Incorrect, C-SPAN, Washington Journal, PBS. She was a former correspondent with the National Catholic Register, featured writer at the Washington Times. Her work has appeared on the Wall Street Journal, New Yorker Magazine, Washington Post, Weekly Standard, and even mentioned occasionally on the Rush Limbaugh Show. Charlotte, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show.
Well, hi. Thank you so much for having me. Rick, I got to say, I've been in New York Magazine, not the New Yorker. You just gave the liberals at the New Yorker a heart attack.
Good.
Yeah. So say it again.
The New Yorker.
No, New York.
New York Magazine. And she's
how you like this VA scandal? It's we have a president.
Sharon, I have said here so many times, I'm getting nauseated by it, that the night of the election, everybody wanted to get my reaction to Barack Obama getting reelected, and I says, well, it's a terrible night for my country, but it's a terrific night for the Conservative Commandos Radio Show. We're going to have stuff to talk about for the next 4 years.
I think you summed it up right, but I just, the VA scandal really is so amazing because it's interesting. I don't know if you watched his presser yesterday, but, like with most things that happen on our planet, they're all about Barack Obama, and the VA scandal is no different. He talked about how it was one of his causes and what he's done and what he's talked about. Oh, but wait a minute. It's not about Barack Obama at all. It's about those other inconsiderate presidents who came before Barack Obama. The White House dossier, which is one of my favorite websites, had this headline summing up his presser: Obama tries to dodge blame in VA scandal. And that's really what it was all about yesterday. Is White House dossier said he was bedraggled. He didn't seem particularly angry, but what he was interested in was dodging blame. Of course he blamed George W. Bush. Everything he tries to blame on George W. Bush. And there was this really nasty thing, about a decade of war. Well, we know whose fault that is. But Obama hasn't fixed anything at the VA. It's grown worse. And Victor Davis Hanson pointed out yesterday that when the Walter Reed Hospital when there were all these investigative reports about disastrous conditions there, Bush acted immediately. Mm-hmm. Heads rolled. People got fired. He tried to save the situation. So what does Obama do? He sends a political operative out to sort of talk to people. And I have this horrible feeling that this scandal is going to go the way all Obama scandals go. It'll follow the trajectory. Initial outrage, promises to get to the bottom of things and hold somebody accountable, and then nothing. But the VA, it's really puzzling to me, Rick and Sharon, because, with regard to Benghazi, it's likely that the administration has, at the very least, something to hide in the way of incompetence. With the IRS scandal, we got to admit, a lot of their allies basically would like to ruin the Tea Party, even if it means, acting like Nixon about the IRS. But the VA, he could clean this up without causing himself any trouble or any heartache. If he knew what to do. He could send somebody, he could take some immediate steps, he could do something. And I agree with Sarah Palin, the guy's lazy. I looked at his schedule today. What other president has his daily presidential briefing at 10 a.m.? A lot of us call that mid-morning, Yeah.
Well, Sharon, you got a great point. this man is lazy. I've said here in the Conservative Commandos radio show, he's either lazy or stupid, because the government, the country isn't something he's interested in. I really don't think he likes being president. I think he likes the adoration, but I really don't think he likes
not governing us.
Yeah, I don't think he likes the day-to-day operations of being president. I didn't think Bill Clinton did either, but they love that adoration that they would get. And Sharon, Charlotte and Sharon, I've said here before, I think that he's more suited to be the commissioner of the NBA. I think he'd be more suited to be the host of Entertainment Tonight.
Too. I think he's more suited to be, well, I don't want to denigrate Prince Charles, but something like Prince of Wales would be his kind of job.
You know that guy who goes around the country talking about the houses of the rich and famous? He died, I think. Okay, he'd be more suited for that kind of job. He would be more suited to have
over the rich and famous. He dumps on them all the time, but he's gaga over them.
Yeah, they're his people. He'd be more suited to have a reality TV show flying around the country on other people's money.
He does have a reality TV show. It's called the United States of America. And it's in bad shape. Shinseki is very popular with the left because he attacked George Bush on Iraq. So maybe that's why the president hasn't fired Shinseki. But nevertheless, whether Shinseki's going or not, he could clean up. He could do so much at the VA without offending Democrats. I mean, it's not like the Keystone Pipeline.
He could become a hero, Sharon, but he doesn't know how to solve problems. This man has never solved a problem in his life. This man is a community organizer that knows how to create problems, but he doesn't know how to solve them. You know what he reminds me of, Sharon? When I was much, much younger, we had a friend in the family who was a mechanic. And he had a young son, and I said, his name was Smokey. I said, Smokey, do you think Raymond is going to become a mechanic like you, like his dad? And what he said is, no, Raymond is more like to be a guy who works in a junkyard, pulling things apart but can never put them back together again.
Well, that's what sometimes, do you remember Leave It to Beaver?
Oh, yeah, of course.
High school, the kid who always never got caught doing
Eddie Haskell.
Bad stuff.
Eddie Haskell.
Huh?
Eddie Haskell.
Eddie Haskell, that's it. Haskell, not high school. Well, it's sort of like Eddie Haskell has grown up to be president of the United States. Like Eddie Haskell hasn't grown up but has become president of the United States. I mean, I've never seen a guy who, when scandal erupts, he doesn't think, how can I fix this? He thinks, whom can I blame? I mean, sure, the opposite party always goes after the party in power when there's a scandal, but generally the person who's in power thinks, what can I do? How can I fix this? And Obama thinks simply, how can I blame it on George Bush? Although this time he's blaming it on all the presidents.
Absolutely. Hey, Charlotte, we're going to take a little break. Could you hold through our break?
Sure.
All right, we're going to take a little break right now, and you are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Angle and Rick Trader, coming to you live from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and of course around the world on the internet via our internet broadcast partners, CPRWorldwideMedia.com, PatriotsRide.org, VigilantLibertyRadio.us, and don't forget to check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioshow.com and CCRShow.com. Two different sites, but different information on each one of them. Please don't go away. We're going to continue our conversation with Charlotte Hayes from the Independent Women's Forum.
Yeah, that's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's ABACO. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know
abaco.com.
Hi, this is Bob Viden, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
And this is the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with Sharon Engel and yours truly, Rick Trader. Our guest this segment is Charlotte Hayes. She's the Director of Cultural Programs at the Independent Women's Forum. Her latest book out is called When Did White Trash Become a New Normal? A Southern Lady Asks the Impertinent Questions. And maybe I would know the questions and the answers if she'd send me the book, but I haven't got it.
I keep forgetting to do
Yes,
that. I'm a very bad person, Rick.
Not really. Hey, Charlotte, you write in your article, although it would be good for an aggressive executive to jump into action and get immediate help for our veterans, which in my opinion would make him a hero with many, it's a sad fact that Barack Obama can't solve the VA's problems any more than those of other presidents. Well, you know, Charlotte, keep getting my ladies mixed up today. Charlotte, Obama has shown from his past actions that he's anti-military in every way, shape, or form, from cutting the military's budgets to making our military pay more for their insurance. In some places, the military is not even getting a hot breakfast anymore. In some cases, many of the military are asking their friends and family to send them supplies as simple as socks. So if it was just this, you could say, okay, well, he's just making a big, bad mistake here. But he hasn't solved any problems anywhere. Did he solve the problems in Ukraine? No. Did he solve the problems at the IRS? No. Did he solve the problems of Fast and Furious? No. Did he solve the problems with NSA spying? No. Healthcare. He's created more problems than he's solved.
Rick, he's a guy who does nothing but talk.
Well, Sharon, my God, Charlotte.
I'm flattered.
I'm flattered that both you and Sharon Engel are here with me today. But what also gets me is the excuses all the time. And I want to play a little piece of audio from a video. And this is Jay Carney making all these excuses for Barack Obama, how he never hears about these things until he hears about it in the news, on Entertainment Tonight, on ESPN Sports Center. So I'm going to put Charlotte and Sharon on hold so they can hear this piece of audio. But this is past press conferences with Jay Carney and Barack Obama saying where he finds out about all these things that are crashing the government. Go ahead, Brett, play that for us.
Just to follow up on that, when was the president first made aware of these problems, of these fraudulent lists that were being kept to hide the wait times? When was he first made aware of those problems? And when did other White House officials, top White House officials, become aware of these problems?
When you say these problems, the fact that there have been bureaucracies,
some time, but the
if you mean the specific allegations that I think were reported first by your network out of Phoenix, I believe we learned about them through the reports. I will double check if that's not the case, but that's when we learned about them, and that's when, as I understand it, Secretary Shinseki learned about them and immediately took the action that he has taken, including instigating his own review or initiating his own review, but also requesting that the Inspector General investigate. And I think, again, I would point you to his testimony as well as the Inspector General's testimony last week.
And so you heard on the news about this story that Fast and Furious.
Everyone knows, the President did not know about this tactic until he heard about it on through the media.
Something we found out about along with all of you.
He found out about the news reports yesterday on the road.
When did you first learn that the IRS was targeting conservative political groups?
I first learned about it from the same news reports that I think most people learned about this. I think it was on Friday.
When did he know that piece of information?
When it came out in the news a week ago Friday, I think.
I certainly did not know anything about the IG report before the IG report had been leaked through the press.
Well, there you go. Charlotte Hayes and Sharon Engel, maybe if we want Barack Obama to know something, maybe we should put it on the news.
Well, it's funny. Charles Krauthammer said that he acts like a guy who's just sort of stumbled upon the presidency. And here are all these bad things that are going on. Yeah, he's not a president. He's a ceremonial figurehead. He likes to go out with his celebrity friends, and that's about it. This guy's inadequate. And, it's funny, Rick and Sharon, when people fall in love with this infatuation that the public had for Obama, they always wake up and are really let down, aren't they?
Well, I think so. Sharon Engel, I want to bring into this conversation and something that Charlotte just said about when people fall in love. I kind of think that we, the people of the United States, are in an abusive relationship with Barack Obama. He says all the nice things, but he does all the nasty. He says that he's there, he's got the backs of the VA, but he really doesn't. It's like he tells you what he wants to hear, but does nothing about it.
When you and Charlotte have been talking about the abuses, and I'm going to say that, the abuses of these scandals, it's just been one after another, as Charlotte pointed out. It makes me wonder, what's the next thing going to be? And if there are more of these coming up, is it just to draw our eyes away from the scandal that can actually damage the Democrats the most? Because I feel like, in some ways, Barack Obama is through. There's not much he can do with his presidency, and really, we're looking down the road to 2016, and Hillary Clinton and Benghazi should be the thing that just makes her presidency or presidential attempts incredible. What do you think about that, Charlotte? Are there going to be more of these scandals? What's the purpose of them? What's going on really underneath the surface, do you think?
Well, look, I think Benghazi's terribly important, and the Democrats basically decided that they would be on the select panel because they need to protect Hillary Clinton. But I think that they can't. That basically means that they've made it a bipartisan panel, even if they throw hissy fits. And I think Trey Gowdy he's a prosecutor. I think he's going to do such a good job that if Elijah Cummings tries to pitch the kinds of hissy fits he did with Darrell Issa, it's just not going to work. So, yeah, I think Hillary, is running on the theme of I am a woman, I am a girl. And that's about all she's got going for her. I mean, she was a disaster at the State Department. We're just learning that she resisted designating Boko Haram a terrorist organization. Basically all she did was fly around the world. She's a little bit like Barack Obama in that she just sort of likes to do the fun things. Oh, I like to put on my pantsuits and go around flying around the world. So, no, I don't think he's trying to use these things to distract from something else that's real. These are real. These are the real scandals. And I totally agree with you, Sharon. I think he's finished.
Well, do you think we're in for more? We think that we've seen the last of them when we saw the NSA and the IRS and Benghazi. And
who knows what's coming up next? No, we don't know what as John McCain said on television today. The veterans scandal is a centipede. There are lots more shoes to drop, and we just really don't know what else is going to happen. And I think that the Benghazi Select Committee is likely to find out shocking information. I don't want to cast aspersions before the information comes out, but I have a hunch he did not pay any attention to Benghazi that night, that he went upstairs while the attack was unfolding. Instead of staying in the Situation Room, he went upstairs to figure out how to deal with it politically.
Oh, I disagree. Charlotte. I think he went upstairs to get away. His wife wasn't there in the White House, okay? Who was it? Who was the Secretary of Defense at that time?
Oh gosh!
And the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. It's on the tip of my tongue. But both the Secretary of Defense and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff notified him at 5:30 in the evening.
No. I think he was notified about it. No. He was notified about it, and he ignored what was happening to our people in Benghazi.
I agree, but I would like to know.
Let's figure out how to deal with this politically. Let's make sure that even if people are being hurt in Benghazi, that I don't get hurt.
Well, I disagree. I don't think he was trying to figure out what to do.
No, not in Benghazi, Rick. I think he was trying to say, what shall we do for me? Oh, the video, that's what we'll do.
I don't know. The next day, his plans was to go to Nevada for a fundraiser, but I would like to know what he was doing in the White House from 5:30 at night to 11:30.
That's what's going to be the scandal. I think he did not pay any attention to Benghazi.
Well, I agree with Sharon. I think as far as Benghazi goes, I think what has got to come out of this is Hillary Clinton's involvement in it.
Well, we need to know that.
Yeah.
We need to know what she does with the call at 5 in the afternoon.
Yeah, boy, that's a great one. And you talk about Hillary Clinton, a lot like Barack Obama. I think Hillary Clinton is a lot like Bill Clinton. All three of them love the limelight. They all love the adoration. I don't think any of them like the details of being president.
I think Clinton did like the details of being president. I think he was a wonk. I think that's true about Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, but I think Bill Clinton was a wonk. Now, I happen to disagree with his policies, but he did know to get out of the way at certain times and let the economy do well. And Barack Obama, it's a real feat to make America an unprosperous country. Barack Obama has done it. He won't get out of the way and just say, okay, let's not regulate anymore, let's let it happen.
Hey, Charlotte Hayes.
Recovery, but he's preventing it. And part of that is because he just doesn't know how an economy works. And
right.
You can't blame him. He's never had a job.
Well, there you go. Hey, Charlotte, we got to run. We're out of time. Always love having you on. Please give a website where people can follow your writings and plug your book.
Well, my book is When Did White Trash Become the New Normal? I hope you'll go to Amazon and buy it and write a nice review there. IWF.org. Best commentary in the world from conservative-leaning women.
All right. Speaking of conservative women, Sharon Engel, I want to thank you for sitting in today as my co-host.
Oh, it's always my pleasure, and I'm looking forward to going to Alaska and being back to report on that trip.
All right. Again, Charlotte Hayes, thank you so much for joining us. We've got to run.
Rick and Sharon.
All right. That's it for today. We got to run. We got to go. Take care. God bless, and we'll see you tomorrow on the radio.
Thank you for listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show. Huge thanks to our co-hosts, contributors, patrons, callers, and our friends at WNJC 1360 and WIFI 1460, where we broadcast live every Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern and 2 to 4 p.m. Central. Look for us on the internet at www.ccrshow.com. Until next time, we are the Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard.